in today's video we're going to be doing a quick project where I made this two-tone wedding ring for my cousin, actually, who's getting married in June. Now, I won't be able to attend the wedding, sadly, because I have a conference within a couple of days of that wedding, and it's a very long distance for us to go. So this was kind of my, how I wanted to contribute and be a part of it somehow. So we ended up casting the outer part, the mountains, in 14 karat gold and the shank in sterling silver. Now, after this is all done, we're going to be nano ceramic coating this material so that that silver stays pristine, scratch free for as long as possible. He's a very outdoorsy guy, so I suspect this ring is going to get beat up a little bit, and we wanted to give it as much help as possible. So the gold didn't really shrink that much, but you know, things happen. So we ended up using the Pepe ring stretcher to size it up. And we wanted to make sure that we could pressure fit this onto the sterling silver band. On top of the color tone, I also wanted to do two texture tones. So the base is actually going to be sandblasted. The sterling silver is sandblasted with 20 micron glass beads. And then of course we have high polished the gold shank to try to give it as much luster as possible. I really enjoy this two-tone and two-texture setup. It was, you know, it just turns out really nice. I love bead blasting. It's dust-free, and it gives it that really nice, like, MacBook look. In the end, everything squished together really, really nicely on pretty much the first try. There are a couple of little gaps, and that might be because of the shrinkage, but overall it's really quite nice. And of course that ceramic is going to take care of any gaps onto itself. To attach these two, I'm going to be using our Pulse Arc Orion welder, and I'm using sterling silver filler wire. I ground in bevels on both the gold and the silver so that the silver wire has something to fill and make a really nice connection point between them. I was thinking of doing a sweat solder, but I was really under a time constraint with this, so I opted to do the welding. And I mean, it's still very, very clean, and I didn't have to go through an extra pickling stage and worrying about these finishes changing. We're going to use a file, and we're going to flatten off all of those weld marks. And I'll also grind in a comfort fit on the inside. There was a couple little holes. They weren't really holes. They were more like areas that the weld didn't quite fill in. I could have taken it back to the welder, but I've had a lot of experience with this and the porosity killer burr. If you don't have one of these, I strongly recommend trying it because it's able to burnish in those holes and fill everything in without removing any metal. It's just a really nice bench tool to have. For the final finishing, I opted to do pretty much everything by hand except for this one last buff on the gold because I had a really, really thin buff that I could use. The nano ceramic plating process is not really tricky. We're actually going to be doing an instructional video on how to do this later on because we found so few resources. First, we have to degrease it and then wash in distilled water. And then it goes into the neutralizer, which is, I honestly don't understand how half of this stuff works. Chemistry was never my strong suit, but it's basically just to make sure that it's ultra clean and prepared for when we want to attach the nano ceramic coating. We also have to make sure it's very dry, so I put it in the oven for a minute and then we go into the nano ceramic. Nano ceramic actually requires a very, very high amount of voltage as compared to most other plating solutions. As you can see here, it's about 50 volts. A normal gold plating solution might run at about 6 to 7 volts. So this is orders of magnitude higher, and you do need to have a special machine to do it. We'll do a final rinse, and then we'll go into a drying phase where we have to essentially bake the nano ceramic onto the surface. And this hardens it, makes it clear, transparent, and ultra durable. So from here on, this ring is pretty much ready to go. It's never going to scratch as long as that ceramic coating's on it, and I hope he really enjoys it.